Okay, so it's 2 o'clock, and welcome to our last session in this series from the Investor Network. What the Investor Network can do for your fundraising on a European level. I'm really pleased today that we have Caroline, who is always with us. She's here today too, from Angels Santé, and she's also managing the Investor Network. We also have Lone Veng from a Danish company called, I forget the name of the company.
ResoTher Pharma.
Yes, thank you. And we also have Christos Vaitsis from EIT Health in Scandinavia. And with that, I will hand over to you, Christos, who will start, right?
Yeah, and I think, do we have the slides? Should I share my screen?
No, I'll share my screen.
Okay.
I will share my screen. Yeah. And there we go.
Yeah. Yeah, so thanks a lot, Christina. So I'm Christos Vaitsis. I'm a business creation manager in EIT Health Scandinavia. And you're also access or contact point if you want to apply or afterwards, discuss a little bit more about the Investor Network program, but also other opportunities that we have in EIT Health. The focus, of course, today is on investment programs, but I have this nice picture here just to provide a very quick overview of what kind of opportunities and activities the EIT Health Accelerator offers. And that spans from early stage companies who are looking for access to knowledge, and that can be training and validating a product or a market or a business idea, to accessing different types of stakeholders through, for example, the EIT Health Catapult that provides pitch training, exposure to investors, visibility to different types of stakeholders in life sciences. And as a next step, access to market, which is actually a very concrete way of supporting a company who is willing to expand and penetrate a new market than the existing one in Europe and also beyond Europe, outside European countries. And coming to the focus of today, which is access to investors and funding, and there are different opportunities. Caroline will present the Investor Network, and I can go to the next slide just to provide an overview. Yeah, the different investment opportunities or programs that we have in EIT Health. Starting from early stage companies who are looking for seed funding, there is a program which is called the crowdfunding, and that is for companies looking into at least €500,000 in equity from the crowd. And the way, very briefly, that it works is that once the company is applied and selected, there's a due diligence process of the business of the company, and once the selection process is finished, then a crowdfunding campaign is launched in different European countries, where actually the company has the opportunity to raise equity investments for at least €500,000 from the crowd. And the crowd can be healthcare professionals that EIT Health is targeting themselves, but it's also for any individual that has an interest to do so. I will not say a lot about Investor Network because Caroline will do that already. The Gold Track program is for scale-up companies, more mature companies that actually are interested to get support from EIT Health, not so much in funding, but strategic support, support from high experts from all over Europe, but also the globe, and work together to shorten the time for reaching strategic goals of the company. So a company may have a goal in 3 years to for example, grow in a certain way, and that with the help of the Gold Track program could be even achieved in a shorter time with the guidance and support from high experts in different areas. And lastly, the Venture Center of Excellence, which is a program in collaboration between EIT Health and the European Investment Fund. And the goal of this program is to support companies, maybe late Series A, but also Series B and up to pre-IPO companies, with support from EIT Health and the European Investment Fund to bring together corporate VCs from the network of EIT Health, but also other corporate organizations, and do some kind of co-investments and with also support and funding and investments from a European Investment Fund. It's not yet up and running, but it will be very soon open for applications. And one, for example, why do we have this triangle? One could think, for example, that an alumni or a company that has been to Investor Network or the Gold Track could be an ideal case of going, for example, as a next step to Venture Center of Excellence, but not necessarily, it's not the only way, of course, to do that. So different opportunities on investments. So the Scandinavian companies that you are here today, you can just reach me whenever you want, and we can have a more detailed discussion on each one of them after today. So thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you, Christos. And thanks again to EIT Health Scandinavia for organizing these sessions. So some of you may have been with us for the first two sessions. The first one was on the Nordic equity scene with Industry Funden. The second one was the do's and don'ts when you're fundraising. We had the pleasure of welcoming Hayden Ventures. And today will be exclusively around the Investor Network. And I'm very happy to have Lone Veng with me. She is one of our gold companies from Denmark, a biotech company called ResoTher Pharma, but I'll let her explain to you what exactly she does. But I really wanted to have Lone with us so that she can give you her feedback about her first steps in the Investor Network and why she joined, and her experience as a fundraiser in general. I'd like, of course, to have you, members of this workshop, to tell us a little bit about you as well, and tell us about your fundraising. So please open up your mics and your cameras when you want to speak. First of all, has any of you already done a seed stage fundraising? And I think you can use your hand in the reaction box at the bottom, just to know how many have already done a seed stage and are looking to do a Series A. Can we have any? Yes. Okay. All right. So we have Mike, Thomas, Andreas. Okay. So you guys are moving towards a Series A. Do we have anyone that's doing, have done a pre-seed and that is doing, is looking to do a seed stage? Catherine. Okay. So we have one seed and more Series A. Great. So Cecilia as well, wonderful. And how about, has anyone never raised any money, is at a pre-seed stage, looking to raise the first round? Stefan, okay. So Stefan, we're hopefully will be able to answer some of your questions for your next round. And I would encourage you to look at the second episode of our workshops, because hopefully you will give you some good tips about how to raise money and in the Nordics and in the rest of Europe. Okay, so please feel free to stop me, and this is in a conversational manner, so please open your
There's
mic.
a question from Thomas. He wants to know how do you define a seed investment?
How do we what?
Question.
I'm sorry.
I can ask a question. What do you find? Is it €500,000 as in the presentation that Christos showed? It was a great presentation. Just so we know what we're talking about seed, because
Sure, absolutely.
Series A is it's not a clear definition, but it's
you're right. You're right. In general, in Europe, a seed stage would be somewhere around starting at 250, 300,000 euros. I'm sorry, I have to speak in euros. 300,000 euros, up until you have seed stage rounds that go up to 1.2 million. Okay. Bridge stage would be between, bridge is before your Series A, where you've already raised a seed stage, but you need a little bit extra before doing your Series A. That's usually around 800, 1 million, 1.2 million as well. So there's an overlap. And then in terms of Series A, you're absolutely right. There are loads of Series A's. It can start at 1 million and go up to 15 million according to the type of company you are, whether you're in biotech, in medtech, or digital.
Thank you. This was a very good explanation.
Yeah.
Very good.
Okay.
So, thank you. No, but it's not easy because everyone talks about seed here, but it's no one. This also, you made a very good explanation here. Thank you.
Yeah, no, pleasure. And please open up your mics, interrupt us, and we're here for that. So I'd like to, of course, just remind you the subject of the day. Today, we're here to take a look at what the Investor Network is, which is a particular access to finance program from EIT Health, why we created this program and why the need for such a program from the startup point of view, how you can apply, and then, the details about what happens when you get in. So first of all, Lone, thank you so much for joining us. Tell us a little bit about you, about ResoTher, and the fact that you are raising a Series A. So you've gone through the seed experience.
Right. So, well, I'm Lone Veng. I'm the CEO of ResoTher Pharma, and we're a biotherapeutics company. We've been around since about 2017, and we're working on peptide therapeutics for cardiovascular disorders. The fundraising experiences, so we raised a seed round back in 2017 of about 700,000 euros. And so we're in therapeutics development, and so we're capital intensive. Then about a year ago, we did a bridge round of a couple of million euros, and then got a grant, so topped that off with a grant. So all together at this point, we've raised about 3.5 million euros in both dilutive and non-dilutive funding. Right now, as Carolyn mentioned, we're looking for a Series A, and we're looking for 15 million euros to fund the clinical development of our lead compound. The fundraising experience that we have, so the seed round was mostly sort of local angels here in Denmark, a kind of a handful of friends and family and foes, you could say. And then the bridge round, we opened up and we brought in sort of more investors, so more local investors, what you would call sort of high net worth individuals, and some that we met through our own network and some that we accessed through a corporate finance provider that put us in contact with some of these investors. And as I mentioned, we sort of used a number of grants that we got during last year to leverage in these investors, because what we were able to convince them was that this was a pretty good case in that more than, or sort of almost half of the money raised in the last round was non-dilutive. Currently, what we've been doing sort of throughout the lifetime of the company, so I've been CEO more or less since inception. What we've been doing is going to investor conferences. So we've been to Bio Europe and Bio, and we've been to NLS Days in Sweden. We've been to LXS conference, and we've been speaking to a lot of investors just kind of throughout the times. And oftentimes when you're a very early company, everyone will tell you that. They'll go, oh, well, it's very early, and you haven't been around long, and we haven't really seen sort of what you can deliver. And for a therapeutic company, sort of, if you're very far from entering clinic, then people tend to maybe be a little more hesitant. But what we've used the funding for so far is actually advancing our lead molecule. So now we're ready to enter clinical development, and the Series A is going to fund the clinical development. I think the experience going to investor conferences and, logging into partnering systems and interacting with investors that way is that you can very easily keep yourself quite busy communicating with investors and sharing slide decks and following up and doing telephone or video conference meetings. And so it becomes in some ways a full-time job, just, all your investor communications. And I think this is sort of what the massive value proposition of the investor network is, that the network actually does much of that legwork for you, so you can concentrate on just the dialogues. And so ResoTher we haven't been in the network all that long. And as Caroline mentioned, we came in as a gold company, so we haven't tried any of the accelerator stages. But I think even if you're not quite ready for a Series A, and if you're not quite ready for the sort of the gold stage of the network, I think it would be a great idea to enter, because you will get some very qualified help to sort of help you get to that point. What we saw so I think we applied back in sort of late August and very quickly got admitted. And then, we did the evaluation with the 2 external evaluators.
We'll go back to that later on, maybe, Lone, about the each stage. So this is extremely valuable. One of the subjects that you hit, but we'll go further there afterwards, is about using your network and finding your first investors in your network. But then when it gets to the next stage, it's a little bit more difficult.
Right.
So indeed, as you understand, the Investor Network is a access to finance program from EIT Health, and we were created about 2.5 years ago to help startups accelerate their early stage equity fundraising. Because we know that once most of you know your national, your regional environment, but when it gets to finding more equity, especially if you're a biotech company, which needs a lot of capital, it's a lot more difficult to go outside of your own borders and find investors. And that's what we do for you, is we go and find the right investors and we bring them to you. And this we do thanks to, of course, EIT Health, which is, I don't know if you know, and Christos has been very humble about it, but EIT Health is the largest innovation consortium in healthcare in the world. So we have both the possibility of having experts around, we have loads of accelerator programs, we have industrial partners that can help you as well. So if you're not part of the EIT Health family, I invite you to be part of it and to contact Christos. So this program, Investor Network, is managed by Angels Santé, for which I am the head of operations. It's Angels Santé means Angel for Health. We are in terms of volume of investment, we're the largest angel group in Europe dedicated to healthcare investment. And of course, we have partners across the north and south of Europe to help us put this project together and to actually implement it and help the companies. And so you see some of our partners there. And then we've got, of course, the team. We've got an operational team that is based in Paris. We've got, of course, the 7 BCNs, people like Christos and his colleagues across Europe that help us find the right companies. And then we have a pool of more than 30 investors that are evaluators across Europe, and that we'll get back to that as well. So in essence, we have, who are we? Well, we're the middle link between healthcare investors and you. So our healthcare investors are all investors that in the early stage scene. So of course we have business angels, and Lone talked about her high net individuals who have invested in her company, business angels as well, who might have less funds to invest in your company, but who are very useful at seed stage or pre-seed for our company here that's in pre-seed. So we have both business angel groups and business angels, individual ones. We have, of course, family offices. Family offices are much more difficult to find. So you may know in the Nordics, as we mentioned in the first episode, they are quite large family offices, mainly in retail and real estate, but there are some family offices that do invest in healthcare, and there are others in Europe that we bring to our network. The advantage of family offices is they can come in at bridge at some small series A, or even sometimes at seed stage, and they're not as difficult when it comes to exit. So They're more patient when it comes to exits, unlike VCs. And VCs are the bulk of our investors. We have, they're all healthcare investors. Some of them are agnostic in healthcare. They do biotech, medtech, digital health. And then we have some who are very specialized, who only do digital health, others who only do medical devices and cardio. So very specialized to very agnostic. And then we've also have corporate VCs. Corporate VCs who usually come in later, but they do come in at Series A. They won't be coming in at seed, but we have some who do come in at Series A stage. And then the startups that we bring in that we'd love to attract are, of course, anywhere in the healthcare world, whether you are a biotech, medtech, digital health, diagnostic, therapeutics. We're happy to have you with us if you're raising anywhere between 500,000 and 10 million euros. Below 500,000, we think that you can go to your local investors, your business angels, your high net individuals, your networks, and your family offices. Once you start doing a 500 and plus round, then you can come to us. 10 million, you may say Lone is raising 14 million or 15 million, and yet she's in the investor network. Lone, can you tell us, when you're raising 15 million, do you work in tranches?
Yeah, so it's in two tranches. The first tranche is 5 million euros, which is going to fund our phase 1 trial, and then the remaining 10 million is to fund our phase 2 clinical trial.
Right. And why are you saying that you're doing a 15 million now?
Well, I think just it's the way that we've structured the transaction is when you go out and you reach out to VCs, what we find is actually, read an analysis somewhere, there's not that many VCs in Europe that bother with transactions that are below 5 million euros. Absolutely. And if you're looking at the number of VCs who bother with transactions below 10 million euros, you're targeting only about 5 to 10% of the market. So you need to get up sort of, with a larger ticket size for some VCs to even want to bother to look at you. And if you're already collaborating with a VC to raise your first round, they're likely going to be your investor for the second round anyway. And what people like to know is what's your total capital requirement to get to proof of concept. So if you're sort of going very piecemeal and just telling them, oh, well, for the next 18 months, I need this, but you haven't really reached a significant inflection point in 18 months, then, they're not going to look at that favorably. So that's the reason for sort of going for a larger chunk and saying, this is what is going to get us to a potential exit point.
Yeah, super useful. And this is why it's very important when you do decide to do a Series A, whether it is as Thomas said, it can vary, but if you want to go beyond 10 million, think about your storytelling and how you want your investment strategy. So indeed, we have a few startups that are raising more than 10 million, but they're starting with us for their first tranche, and hopefully for the second tranche, if sometimes it's even like 20 million, then we'll be able to place them towards the VCOE, as Christos mentioned, for larger rounds and larger investors. But indeed, if you're looking for a global 15 million, it might be nice to do it in trenches and start with the investor network. So yeah, that's very important. Your investment strategy needs to be really well thought out. So why the need of such a program? Well, as you know, in your lifespan of a company, and today we have pre-seed, seed, and Series A companies, you'll always be raising money, right? Whether it be dilutive or non-dilutive, you'll always be going after money, especially if you're in biotech. And so as Lone said, you want to spend the less time possible away from your core business and developing your core business, and leave the fundraising to maybe someone else, or at least the first connections. And this is where we come in. So for you, you'll be between the launch and you finish launching, your prototype is done, and we're going towards growth. So here in this circle, this is where you find all the players that you could potentially find in the investor network. And those are the players that I go and try to attract to our network. Just to give you a little run of figures, in Europe, it takes about 1.5 years for a company to go from seed to Series A, and only 30% of seed stage company ever reach that stage of Series A, just because the others do not find the funds necessary to get to their Series A. And it takes about, on average, it takes about 6 months to do a fundraising. So I really invite you to start early with preparing your fundraising. Just to give you an idea, but I'll get back to it, but usually for $1 million, it can take 5 to 6 months. For more than 3 million, it can take about 9 months. And on average, anywhere above 10 million can take 1 year to 1.5 years sometimes, especially when there are a lot of investors. So if you're looking to raise money in Q1, you're already too late. So start early, and it's always much more comfortable to start raising money when your cash flow is comfortable. Lone, I think you've got some comfort thanks to the grants and the European grants that you got. Do you recommend that?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's certainly easy to go out and raise around, especially with smaller private investors, if you can tell them that, you know, a grant agency has given you money, because they know that there's some level of scrutiny there as well. And many of the private investors, unless they're very specialized and understand biotech or medtech or whatever your area is quite well, then they're going to be sort of hesitant to, you know, pile into an industry that they don't really understand, even if they think that the business case is compelling and the potential return on investment looks very attractive. So I think having gotten a grant gives investors comfort. So I would absolutely recommend, you know, even smaller grants that you can get, because it's a stamp of approval.
Yeah, definitely. And it gives you time to really prepare your equity fundraising, your dilutive fundraising, and to really think it out. Just a last figure, 4 minutes is the time it takes for usually a VC to take a look at your project when you send it. It's on at the bottom of the pile, and once they get to the bottom of the pile, they take 4 minutes, no more. In 4 minutes, they put it aside, or they take a deeper look at it. So these are not very good figures. Now 30% get to Series A, 4 minutes they look at you. Only 1% of companies in Europe will get access to VC funds. And in terms of business angel funds, it's between 5 to 8% of startups will get capital from business angels. So the figures are pretty low. So you need the help, all the help you can get, in my opinion. Of course, you can do your fundraising journey on your own, which means what? Which means that you need to do, as I mentioned previously in the other episodes, you need a lot of networking. So you need to spend a lot of time networking. You need a lot of time qualifying your investors. You know, you need to know who you're going to be talking to, because you can't just throw out your project to the whole of Europe and hope that somebody's going to catch the line and that you're going to be a happy fisherman. You need to really contact the right people. So, Lone, in terms of doing it, me, myself, and I, why is it that you haven't decided to do it on your own for this round?
Well, I think that, you know, we look for all the help that we can get, and the investor network just sounded like an attractive offering, getting someone else to sort of push your case in front of investors, because I spend a fair amount of my own time pushing my case in front of investors. So having a larger reach obviously is quite useful. And then I will say, I mean, Carolyn does a lot of legwork for you. She, you know, they send out a teaser and they send out your deck, and they invite investors for a pitch. And so I try to show up for all the pitches that I can, anywhere that I can. And so again, having someone sort of do that push on your behalf allows you to spend your time, instead of sort of chasing the investors, you can spend your time engaging with the investors who've already shown an interest in your case. And that's just a much more useful way to spend your time than to be out there chasing it and finding out who's even interested.
Yeah, yeah. And indeed, your time will be to spend to go deeper into your project with the investors. So our job is to find the ones that are do invest in your vertical at your development stage and that kind of amount of money, and then we get them interested, and then you can take over and speak. What about a broker? Lone, have you ever thought of taking a broker? I don't know if in the Nordics that's a very big thing. In France, there are quite a few brokers around.
I can explain a little bit. I have experience.
Okay, Thomas, thank you.
Because I use brokers. I mean, brokers are very expensive, but you still have to do your own work. Some, I mean, they help you. I mean, but still, in Sweden, I mean, in Sweden you have to expect around 8% fee.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that's high.
It's high. It's high, plus minus.
Okay.
So even someone that goes up to 10%. I mean, that's very high. I mean, that's
super high.
Yeah, it is. So you have to. But okay, if they can bring in the money and help you, you save a lot of time. Focus on your business. So, but they help you getting funding. So if you don't have the network, so sometimes you have to use brokers.
And
I agree. If I can just add in, Caroline. So we used a broker here in Denmark for our last round. And even though we had a kind of a handful of investors ourselves, they helped us get access to a much wider network of people sort of more or less instantly. They also pushed the case on our behalf and sort of drove people into, you know, the dialogue room, you could say. And it just compressed the entire process. So it was very useful to be able to do it in a short amount of time. And this allowed us to get introduced to people that otherwise we would have never met. And again, if we would have had to go and find all those people ourselves, we would have spent a year. And using a broker, we did it in a month and a half. So, but I think what you have to do is be a little bit picky with your broker. I think, like Thomas said, I mean, cost of capital, you should expect somewhere between 6 to 8% is quite standard. Yeah. Anything above 8, you know, you're probably overpaying. But, you know, again, these people have an efficient process. They already have a network of people that they can push your case out to. And so doing it that way, I think is recommended if you can. And in some ways, the EIT Investor Network sort of also acts as a broker, except the fee is very low. So
yeah, the main difference. The main difference between a broker and us, first of all, it depends where you are in Europe, but you have brokers in France, for example, will take 40,000 euros just to work on your project with you, on your deck, on your storytelling. In Southern Europe, it's about 20,000 euros. So to get you ready to be visible to investors and then to accompany you and open the doors to the investors. And that's without the success fee of anywhere between 5 and 8%. Indeed, above 8%, that is outrageous. And then one of the things that the investor network has that most brokers don't have is that we have a huge European database of investors. We have investors, a database of more than 120 investors that we can contact from 17 different countries. And we can answer the needs of any healthcare startup, whether it be in biotech and medtech or digital health. And of course, the investor network is a lot cheaper, as Lone said. There is no success fee for the moment, and it's only an application fee of 1,000 euros. So forget the 20 or 40,000. We're much cheaper. Crowdfunding is an interesting solution, I think, for B2C products that are ready to go to the market. It can be a very nice way to do your marketing campaign if you have a B2C product. But the crowdfunding will probably be limiting the amount of money that you can raise through the crowdfunding method. But interesting if indeed you have a medical device or some sort of app that you want to sell towards the retail, it can be interesting to go towards that. So the investor network, so how to apply. So as we said, we accept companies that are European registered, raising anywhere between 500,000 and 10 million euros. We like you to have raised a maximum of money on your local market through grants and subsidies, just like Lone said, and that you have at least a proof of concept done. And when you are in a biotech company, for example, we'd like you to have at least an animal model that's well underway. And for digital health companies to have a proof of concept and some sort of market traction to begin with, okay? And of course, what do investors look for? They look for an innovative solution that has a very clear exit, a large market as well. And so most of the things that you already know about. And once you have those kind of elements, then you can seriously think about joining the investor network. Lone, can you tell us a little bit about if you remember your application, how did that go?
Yeah, so I mean, it was quite easy. I think you submit a slide deck in your business plan and maybe like a one-pager, like an executive summary. And given that we already had all those documents available, it was sort of like upload and then click apply. And then, yeah, you get the confirmation. And then after being processed with your payment, you get linked up to your evaluators. And so we just booked, I think it was like an hour meeting to go through the case and answer any questions. The evaluators, I would say, were really knowledgeable. So deep industry expertise in our particular area, not necessarily in our therapeutic area, but in pharmaceuticals. And yeah, they asked some very good questions. They provided some good input. And then you get your sort of, your score to say, have you gotten into the network or do you need to do some more time preparing? And then I had an oral feedback session with them as well. So all in all, I would say the process was really quite smooth. And the way that we looked at it is that, we typically pay more than €1,000 for the investor conferences that we go to. And so this was just sort of opening up another network of investors. And again, with the added sort of benefit of someone doing the pushing for you instead of having to sit there and go log into the partnering system and request meetings yourself and send people your deck yourself. So all in all, I think the process was quite sort of fast and efficient. I want to say maybe 4-week turnaround or something like that, maybe 5. Then we're in the program. And yeah, so now we've been introduced to investors and we're sort of in the middle of dialogues.
Great. Yeah, I'd like to get back to the evaluators. Indeed, of course, we have a pool, as I mentioned, of more than 30 healthcare investors that act as evaluators for us. Most of them are members of the investor network. And we try to do binational teams. Do you know the nationalities of your team, Lone?
So one of the evaluators was a French national and the other one, I believe Spanish, but working in Helsinki after sort of, global career, I would say.
Okay, so yeah, we try to do binational teams just to give 2 different perspectives in Europe. And of course, if you're a biotech company, we give you biotech evaluators, medtech evaluators, so that they understand what you're talking about, even if they're not super experts in your particular domain. They will be at least knowledgeable in the biotech area to ask the right questions, or the medtech area. And they're very used to evaluating companies. And so you get a final report. And just to let you know, even the companies who have not been able to apply to get in, thank us for the report, because as you can see, of course, you get a notation here grading on over 18 items, your strength, your weaknesses, overall impression, and the recommendations. And this is super important for you because it gives you expert advice on what you should be working on. And those recommendations will be asked by the investors anyway. So if there's a shortfalling here, the investors that you will be speaking to will pick it up anyway. So just to give you an idea, as I mentioned, Lone is a gold category. So she not only reached the threshold of 70 points to get in, but she went above 80, which means that she is what we consider investor ready. The silver companies are above average companies that we think have a great potential, but they do need to work on the recommendations given by the evaluators. So for the silver companies, there are two options. Either they say, Caroline, we'll be working on it, on the recommendations on our own, and we can come back within 3 to 6 months to be reevaluated for free by the same evaluators that had you at the entrance evaluation. Or you say, Caroline, I need some sort of mentoring because when it comes to the market access, I really have, I don't have the internal expertise to do this. I don't have the means to take a private consultant. So I need one of your mentors that will help me at a below market price. And you have the choice of taking 1 3-hour, 2 or 3 sessions of 3 hours to work with a mentor. Once you've worked with a mentor, whenever you feel you're ready, you can come back and say, I'm ready to be reassessed. So you can be reassessed once for free and hopefully to get into the gold category. And then I'll explain the differences. Thomas, you had a question?
You have a question. If a company has completed a successful bridgehead project, what would you be a percentage there for you?
A bridgehead project?
Yeah, with EIT Health. You've been selected into EIT Health. You've done a whole 1-year bridgehead project. What would be like your percentage score then, would you assume? A range.
Yeah, Christos, I'm not super familiar with the bridgehead levels of companies. Can you say something about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, normally, a company outside bridgehead have succeeded to internationalize the business, so to enter a new market. So I'm not sure if that's actually something that will, be something additional that can be counted to go from bronze to silver or to gold. So these programs are not related. They are 2 different programs. That's one thing. But if, for example, the 30,000 euro that you received from bridgehead and used to enter a new market now have helped the company to grow, then the growth is something that will be reflected when you are, vetted as a company for Investor Network. But it's not. There is no bridge actually between the bridgehead and Investor Network. But of course, the more you do, the more mature you become, and the more you grow. So everything is, of course, a positive perspective.
Do the evaluators know what bridgehead is when they evaluate? Do you understand what I mean? Because it's evaluations on the European level. Do they really know about what it means to go through a bridgehead project? Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, no, to answer your question, truthfully, no, they don't. They're investors and they will evaluate you from an investor point of view. So they're outside of EIT Health. They're people who are, VCs. And so they are not necessarily aware of all the EIT Health Accelerator programs. But as Christos said, if bridgehead allowed you to get to another milestone, that's another plus in your grading. But
they know about EIT Health, right?
They know about EIT Health, but they don't know about all the 15 programs in the accelerator pillar.
Yeah,
if I can add,
that's what my point is.
No, I think. Yeah. What also Caroline says, I mean, I think what counts now for the Investor Network is and what is evaluated is the ability of the company to create cash flows in the future, to this kind of perspective. What an investor, if you put yourself in an investor's position, you're about to put your money into a company. What are you looking at? I mean, you're looking how healthy is the company when it comes to a strategy and the plan to grow, the forecast. If you plan to do yourself any kind of strategic movements, grow the company, income and all these different things. So there are many different aspects when it comes to investing. So
yeah.
But my question was like, it's important for investors to understand how great EIT Health is. I'll give you an example. Here in Sweden, we tried to do a wear test for 5 years. We've been blocked everywhere in Sweden because of 2 big companies and some doctors. And then we got selected to bridge it, and thanks to Christos and Sarah and EIT Health Scandinavia, we got selected, and now we managed to do a wear test in Portugal during the pandemic situation. That shows how good EIT Health is. That's just a...
Yeah. No, but you're right. But EIT Health has a lot of very, very good programs. I would say one of the programs that is the closest to in the investor network is more the Catapult competition. That's probably a very complementary program in terms of access to finance and being attractive and pitching to investors. But as you say, there are loads of very, very high standard programs within EIT Health. Our investors know about EIT Health. They're happy to be part of the family, but they might not know the specifics of each program.
No, but it's important to understand the value and the brand of EIT Health. Excuse me if I'm interrupting, because people don't know what EIT Health is so much, because it's great.
No, you're right. And I think EIT Health will work towards a label.
I'll give you another example. For example, you said something really great there is also, is evaluated, the nationals evaluated Lone were like from Spain and were outside their nationality. And that's also great. It's evaluation European level. For example, I show you, here's our latest product shipped to dentists now in Sweden. But this is impossible for us to sell in Sweden because the Swedish government say, no, face mask is not recommended, but everyone else outside Sweden recommends it. So you see how good it is to be part of something European.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's the whole objective, is to be European wide. Cecilia had a question. Can you activate your microphone?
Yeah. Thank you. Hi, my name is Cecilia Belfrog. I'm CEO at Human Sense. I just have a question. You said something about that you could get some help from mentors. Is that after you have applied or even before?
So there are two things. The EIT Health has a mentoring program called MCN, and Christos can, after this episode, tell you more about it, where you can get access to European mentors. So whether or not you are in the investor network, you can access those mentors on a specific issue. And then when you are in the investor network, we have specific mentors to help you with the recommendations or to help you with the fundraising. So some of them are already in the MCN program, or we have our own mentors as well. It depends on your subject and what you need to work on. Yeah.
Sorry, my last comment here.
Please, Thomas, go ahead.
Connected to the question, because we received also mentoring checks for EIT Health Scandinavia, and this also connected to what you presented. This was great because we used the funding to work on our pitch, and because of that, it helped to secure our seed round. So see how you can use. It's not only like you can connect it to your funding process also.
Yeah, absolutely. And we, in the lifespan of a company that joins us, we have a mentoring for the silver companies, but we also have mentoring for the gold. We have, sometimes we realize during the fundraising campaign, and it hasn't been the case with Lone, but we've had cases where the storytelling is not good after meeting with 2-3 investors and the same issue comes up. So we stop and we tell the company that they need some sort of coaching to work on that specific issue that causes a problem with all the investors before we move on. Or we have a new mentoring service we have, for example, a Dutch company in biotech that will be doing sort of like a broker's, what you mentioned earlier, that working on the deck, on the storytelling, on the strategy. They will be working with a mentor for about a month and a half before we start the fundraising campaign, just to increase the chances of success. So we have, It's a very open and free system. You can do it. You can address your recommendations on your own. You can ask us for help as a silver or as a gold, or just take our basic services as a gold, and we'll get into that. So once you do get in, you've paid your application fee, you sign an MOU, which is an official contract between you and us, then our team will prepare your profile on a platform. So once you've done the application, you're finished. Your work is done. My operational team will take over. And this is interesting because unlike other programs, we are a 360-degree program. The investor can go and look at your profile 7 days 7, but they can also meet you in one-to-one sessions, and I'll tell you more about that. So when it comes to silver and gold, you're all on the platform. You all get a landboarding call with me so that we can talk about your previous investors, your previous roadmap in terms of fundraising, and then we'll explain to you in details how we function. So I've already mentioned the silver, how to get to the gold if you are a silver. You can be reevaluated once for free, and then the gold program. So Lone, concerning your pitch, can you tell us a little bit about why that is different from other programs that, or any other pitch competition that you've been to, or?
Sure. I mean, so I think most of the pitch competitions that we've participated in, it's pretty much just show up, do your pitch, and see if anything sticks. So we have successfully gotten investors via that route before, both sort of online pitches that we had uploaded in various forums, and then showing up at in-person pitch events. I think what's different now is, you know, with COVID, no one can really go anywhere, so all pitches are online. And the pitch that, you know, we did through you reached out to an investor audience. I can't remember if there were like 6 or 8 investors logged onto the call. And then the follow-up is very much sort of handled by the investor network. So they gather feedback from the investors if they like the company and if they want to know more. And then they sort of put you in contact with the investors who've showed an interest. And there's a tracking sheet where you can see, you know, who's been contacted and what was the feedback and are they in process. So in many ways, I would say that it's a kind of an all-inclusive service rather than doing it on your own. You have someone who is doing the pushing for you. And in that way, again, you can spend your time sort of focusing on the science that you're working on, or, you know, doing the deeper dives with the investors rather than sort of chasing just to find out who's interested.
Yeah. And then, of course, as we have 3 to 4 new investors a month that join us, we want to make sure that they know that you exist, even if your pitch session was 2 or 3 weeks ago. So we have what we call a gold portfolio booklet, where we only highlight, of course, the gold companies. And I'll get back to that, why only the gold. But we have a gold company booklet, and each new member receives the gold booklet. So they can very quickly browse through the companies that could be of interest to them. And then they go on the platform and review the companies in details. This excluding, of course, the personal pushes I do. Yes, Cecilia.
I don't think maybe you've mentioned it, but how many companies do you have in the network today, and how many investors and how many deals are you doing every year?
Okay, so I'll answer that question a little bit later in terms of deals. This year, we're closing our 4th deal in 2020. We have about 80 members in the network, but 120 members total, because we have what we call friends of the network. So we have friends of the network are investors who usually come in at Series B or very large Series A. They're too big to be on a weekly basis with us, but we have contacts with them so that we can send them very nice deals when we get to larger deals. And we also have members who are in the friends of the network who are in the US, for example, that officially cannot join us because they're not European, but we have we have contacts with them and we can send them very specific deals. The advantage for the investors, of course, is that they know that we only push the gold companies. So we have in fact a 2 evaluation system for them. The first evaluation comes at entry, so they know that anything on our platform that we push actively in the gold booklet are gold. But the selected pushes that I do is a second level of evaluation, because of course I will only send them the companies that meet their stage development stage, the amount for the round, if they only do therapeutics, I'll only send them therapeutic companies. So that's what's of interest to the investors. And in terms of gold companies, today we have 25 gold companies. On the platform, we still have, we've changed our evaluation system. So today we have about 60 or 70. We've sort of fine-tuned the companies that we have. Obviously, because it's such a personalized program, and we spend so much time on a personal level pushing every single company to every single investor that's targeted. I don't think we could take on more than 40 gold companies a year. I think we really need to be very focused on the companies we bring in. That's why we are a little bit difficult at entry. The reason yes, Cecilia.
And when so for Lone now, when they are a gold company, when they are finished with this financing round, do they get out of the program, or are they still?
No. If Lone, and hopefully Lone will be successful in her round, obviously her next round will be too big for us. So we will send her to the VCOE. We'll introduce her to the other program that takes on Series B and C, and say to the VCOE that she's a successful investor network company. If you were a seed stage company with us and you want to stay for your Series A, that's fine. There's no need to reapply, and you will be able to stay on with us for your next round for free. But in the case of Lone, if she's successful, she'll be going on to the next program. Okay.
And if I could maybe just add to that, because in my experience in talking to investors, if VCs have come in and they've invested in your Series A, if they like you, they're going to also invest in your Series B, and they're going to drive the syndicate for you. And I guess if they don't like you, you're going to have difficulty getting funded. So then you might be looking at other avenues. But if you get an investor on board who will fund your Series A, I think they intend to stick with you until exit.
Yeah.
So that's how it works.
Yeah. But sometimes they don't want to necessarily take the lead for the next round because they've reached their limit in terms of the amount they can put in your company. But they'll be, your best fans, and they'll be great at doing publicity for you and leading the syndicate. Absolutely. There's a reason I just wanted, before we move on, to tell you, if you're silver, why do we make it so difficult to get to the gold? Is because if you're a silver, it means you're not quite ready to be looked at by investors. And if you're not ready, we want to make sure that you're 100% ready, because if we introduce you too early, that might be a waste of time, both for you, for us, for the investors, and we won't be able to go back to them 3 months or 6 months later when you are finally ready. So that's what I was saying last time in the last episode. You need to pace yourself, and we are there to help you pace yourself in the evaluation. So yeah, Lone very quickly mentioned the teaser. This is a teaser that we sent mainly to prospective. This is a non-confidential teaser that we send to prospective investors. As I said, I spend my days talking to new investors. And then there's a follow-up table, a dynamic table that you see, that each gold company gets such a table where we know exactly who looked at you on the platform, who attended the pitch, and then I take care of following up with them. And of course, you tell me if they've, once I do the introduction, where the discussion is leading. Okay.
So Caroline, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I will have to go. I have another meeting. So, but I wish
Lone,
all of
thank
you
you so
much luck.
much.
Great. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining, Lone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So we'll be finishing up just very quickly. Obviously, we don't have all the investors here, but just to remind you that we have more than 80 private and institutional investors. We have regional investors as well as European-wide focused investors. So we have a little bit of everything to satisfy everyone, which allows us to do both national deals and cross-border deals. Very quickly, the syndication, we're also here to help with syndication. For example, this morning we had a pitch for a digital health German company. There were about 10 investor presents, and they introduced each other so that if any of them tell me that they want to go on and have a due diligence with the company, I can put them in contact with the other investors that showed interest in that company so that they can potentially share information for the due diligence to make it faster. So this is also something that we do. We talked about events. Of course, we have our own weekly pitches where we present our gold, but then we also have events across Europe. I've been placing these two because of the COVID, we're all digital. So this was a special biotech cross-border event we organized between Germany, the Netherlands, and Belgium. So we try to take as many opportunities to introduce our startups to investors outside of our weekly pitches. So I think we have questions. Christina, do you see any questions that in the chat box I saw? But just to finish up, and I'll be happy to take your Q&A afterwards. What we bring is, I hope you've understood, is that we bring not only expertise, we bring you into an incredible consortium, which is EIT Health, which can open doors not only to investors, that's our main job, but also to industrial partners and to other programs that are quite exciting. And what we do is we open the doors for you. You may open the door to an investor, but it might be the wrong door. So we open the right doors and we try to make sure that those doors stay open. And if, so this gives you time to really work on your core business. It's time saving, money saving, and it's a unique opportunity to also be seen by investors at a higher level that may be interested in you as well for the next round. So sometimes that also is very interesting. And to answer your question, Cecilia, about recent closings. So these are the ones that have closed this year. So as you can see, we did the small round was a cross-border one. This one was a national one, and this one was a cross-border one with, I think, 6 investors, 3 of them that are in the network. And we have a 4th one closing, which will be a national Italian closing. So happy. I think we've almost time up, but we still have time for 1 or 2 extra questions.
I was just thinking, if somebody is interested in joining the network, what's the first move? Should they just email you, or what's the first step?
So they can email, of course, either Christos or myself. This is my operations team meeting email that you can contact, or you can go to this address here, EIT Health EU Project Investor Network, and there you have the application. There's also a complete application guidebook that I invite you to look at, just to make sure that I haven't missed anything today, but I think I went through most of the details. And so once you apply, you finish your application, my team will look at it, say yes, you can apply and sign the MOU, pay your application fee, and then we start. Just to give you an idea, we say that you will get your results maximum 3 weeks after finishing your application. So that means we send it to the evaluators contact you, you guys find a date, then you get your report, then you get your oral feedback, all in maximum 3 weeks.
And if they have any questions regarding the application, they can just email you as well, and Christos.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you need an extra call, I have 2 ladies who assist me with the details of the application. There's Maeva and Munya, and you're welcome to contact them at info, and they will organize a call with you.
And I can add that the guide in the webpage is very good. It has a lot of details that may answer directly questions that you may have even before. Yeah.
Thank you, Christos.
Yeah, it is.
Cecilia.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're running out of time now, even though it's been very informative and very interesting. And thank you, Caroline, for hosting all these sessions. And they're available recorded, so you can listen again if you missed any of those. And we will send around those previous recording to you as well, and with a survey as well, what you thought about these sessions. So would be very pleased if you would respond to the survey as well. And thank you, Christos, also for joining us all 3 sessions. And thank you to Lone, who has already left now. But you know where to find us, and we're quite excited about this initiative from EIT Health, and we hope you are as well. And just let us know if you have any questions.
Thank you, everyone, and please, answer the survey. It really is helpful to improve ourselves for the next time around. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to join us today, and hopefully we've succeeded in making you want to join the Investor Network. Good luck, and thanks to EIT Health Scandinavia.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Thanks for a great meeting.
Bye.
Thank you.